Yeah.
You do have to make the rules fair because like it just drives people up a fucking wall. I think this is what happened to Scott Adams. He goes,
Yeah.
it's not fair. So now I'm going to say all blacks are a hate group and all white people need to move away from it. And you're like, just
Which
make
is
Dilbert
weird.
cartoons. All you have to do is make Dilbert cartoons.
To be
Stop.
fair, the Scott Adams guy's been going crazy for fucking years.
Yeah,
That
but this
Trump
is
wrote
part
the
of
See
same-
what
what's
that young
driving him
pussy did to
crazy.
him? Messed up his brain, man.
But she just left him.
Yeah, and that's why.
So
you
that
know,
might have
that's
been
why
what
he's
triggered
even
this.
more unhinged.
Allegedly,
Yeah.
she just left him.
Probably
Also,
probably for a black guy.
she has like 1.4 million followers on Instagram, and her likes are pretty trash. So I'm just saying, maybe she did him a favor by peacing out.
But it takes
Yeah.
people like Scott Adams, who I want to say was probably a reasonable, intelligent guy, but it just drives them fucking nuts. And they start saying shit that they shouldn't be saying, and they know is wrong. Black people are not a hate group because
Here's
you
re-
read a poll incorrectly that said they don't understand the phrase "it's okay to be white."
Okay, hypothetically, if it was true that 50% of black people said that they didn't want to be around
All
white
black
people, or
people
hate-
everywhere?
like if that was
Yeah.
actually true, then I think that maybe he would have kind of a point.
He
It's
would.
just that like my lived experience is that a very, very, very small percentage of black people ever express any kind of anti-white sentiment.
If the poll was, is it okay to line white people up against the wall and put a bullet in their head, and 99% of black people
Yeah.
said, yeah, let's do it, I would understand Scott Adams going, hey, I kind of got a problem with this. Okay, but that was not the poll.
That's a hell of a poll.
That's what everybody is treating it as, though. And they're like, well, did you see the poll? Black people said that. I'm like, that's not what they were saying.
We have to get this weird fucking world too, where like left-leaning people are like trying to reinvent like segregation and shit. Where
Yes.
It's like we need black-only spaces in schools.
Black
we
college,
need non-white spaces.
dorms.
Yeah, it's really, really, really fucking weird.
But I realize how deep into the culture wars I am when like I was having a conversation with two of the guys on my channel, AD and T-Rel, who I would consider like not politically obsessed, and I said something about how it is considered politically acceptable to say negative things about white people in a way that it's not okay to say the same things about a lot of any other race. And they both looked at me like I was fucking out of my mind. Like they had no fucking clue what I was referring to because they're not like looking for these exceptions to the
Right.
rule or whatever.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, okay, but also like what I'm going to include into that is something like what's that fucking Scooby-Doo spin-off that just came out that I didn't
Velma.
watch, but I watched your fucking video about
Oh,
it, which
did
is
you?
why it's at the top of my mind right now. But it's like I'm watching that, and it's like kind of amazing how many jokes about white people you're able to like cut
Dude, like,
together.
immediately.
it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's pretty in your face if you're looking for it, right?
And part of the problem is I'm like, well, this is like lazy. It's not even funny. Like,
Yeah.
why do you feel you have to do this? Like, this is the current cultural zeitgeist. Is like, hey, we're allowed to say shit about white people. It's like, yeah, but do you want to? What is the benefit?
So you're able to like mix and mingle in these spaces. Do you hear a lot of anti-white sentiment that we should know about?
No, since moving to LA, I pretty much just hear a lot of.
What?
What?
You hanging out with a bunch of Nazis or what?
Wow.
Just in the social media scene, like I hear a lot of benign racism.
Really?
Towards any groups in particular? Hispanics, blacks?
Any groups that we would know of?
Wait,
That would
any
like
any
join?
really funny jokes that we could repeat
Dick,
later?
you're
Huh?
Hispanic.
I could add them to my routine.
You know, do you experience a lot of hatred?
No,
in
because
LA?
I look white. I mean, I can't even.
white passing.
I was told by Harvard grads that I'm not allowed to even talk. White Harvard grads that I'm not even allowed to talk about Mexicanness or racism because I'm white passing. I was like, all right,
Really?
I'm done with this conversation.
See, I think as soon as you start having the white passing conversation, then it kind of becomes obvious that maybe this isn't what we want to like devote the entirety of our lived experience to.
Yeah,
Figuring
it's-
out what racial buckets to put people into.
you ever
It's become so dumb. The conversations we have to have about race and stifle the segregation as like exactly like you're saying. It's the desired outcome. All this insanity we have to constantly entertain, including the very basic polar opposites of racism, of anti-black racism, which is all power systemic. Oppressive power struggles, like oppressive power structures, versus anti-Semitic racism, which is the definition of those power structures. So you have to constantly not be both. Like you can't say a racism is culture-based, and you can't say a positive racism is oppressive structure-based. And it's just like fucking mind-numbing because you're like, I don't care. I want to live in the middle with everyone else. I don't want to have to deal with this shit.
You
One of
want
my
to hate the
one of my-
blacks and the Jews equally.
One of my favorite.
Is that so wrong?
One of my,
He's joking, guys. He's just joking.
One of my favorite mini arcs
I'm
on my
just saying
stream is,
they're totally
it's
totally
the opposite-
incompatible ideas.
No, yeah, for sure. There's a guy on my stream that comes up pretty often called Dan, and he's Jewish, and I make some. Sometimes in chat, I fuck around with it. I make a lot of anti-Jewish jokes, and people try to hit me with like, I don't really think it's cool to do like the anti-Semitic thing, and it's like, well, Racism is like power plus prejudice, and Jews have all the power right now, so I figure I can't be racist towards
Yeah.
Jews, right?
And it is kind of hard to figure out what you'd say in response to that, besides that you're just like treating the Jews unfair, or you're just being anti-Semitic by acting as if the Jews are in power. Even just saying that is enough for you to be anti-Semitic in a lot
Yeah.
of people's books, right?
Yeah.
That's a weird world. Yeah, I think there's very good academic ways to engage with really complicated and nuanced conversations about like race and everything. I think it's good to look at power structures and to analyze it and everything. But sometimes I always do this in debates when I'm having a conversation with somebody. Sometimes like, okay, hold on, let's take a step back, like really far back in the macro. I'm like, what the fuck are we arguing for right now? Because sometimes when you take a step back from a conversation, you're like, okay, well, what am I actually arguing for? You realize like I think something is getting fucked up right now because like I'm in a conversation where I'm arguing that it's okay to be racist against a certain group of people because maybe their ancestors did something bad. Like when you back up and you macro analyze things, I think you start to see like, okay, this is fucked. Like let's like refocus because you can use academic definitions to get almost anywhere in a conversation. I think it's really really weird at some point in time.
What was going through your head when Lex Friedman was grilling you about saying?
I just thought it was such a dumb conversation.
I was like,
You're supposed to say it was a
well, you were kind of like not engaging and just sort of like, okay, that's your opinion. All right, like, but it was really hard to listen
There's
to.
something I've had to. This is such a hard thing for me to wrestle with. I'm sure you guys have probably all of you have thought about this. Is like there's a certain amount of I need to engage with the culture, and there's a certain amount of like I want to change the culture. You have to find a happy medium between the two. So like,
It's the hill you're gonna die on.
well, I mean, I can't say. I don't even know what I can say here. There's a lot of stuff I can't say anymore.
Why
So
that?
yeah, which hill are you gonna do? I would drop.
I won't.
But it's a.
I can't think of a good reason to.
I'm a Massachusetts
just not
boy.
a
It is our
place it
sacred
with-
word
Where
in
at?
Massachusetts.
Where?
I lived in Western Mass and then most of my life, and then Boston for a bit.
I'm from New Hampshire, so
Oh,
kindred spirits.
so you're wicked as well.
Wicked.
Well,
That's
that's
how
wicked
I grew
with
up.
that.
I grew up wicked gay.
Yeah. Dude, you're wicked
queer.
gay right now. Stop it.
Wicked
So
fucking queer.
gay. Yeah. They can't take those words from us. That's
they're
Boston
gone.
strong, man.
Yeah.
Those bombers came in, and you're gonna take our words away as well. Anyway,
We're definitely like the last ones fighting for it for sure.
Yeah, I worry about that too because you don't want to be like. Did anyone hear of like a grandma or grandpa that would still call? They weren't racist, but they would call black people like colored people.
Yeah.
I had a grandma that would say that. I was like, Grandma, you probably shouldn't. Well, I was too young. I didn't even know. So You
Yeah.
probably shouldn't say that. She didn't mean anything about it. I wonder sometimes if that's like gonna be us. Like our kids will look at us and be like, Dad,
But when I was a
retarded is
kid,
not cool.
our
Maybe
kids are
not-
gonna be too busy cutting off all their body parts to worry about what words we're
Jesus
saying.
but I think I
Christ.
remember my grandma saying colored and not even thinking it was offensive in any way because I'm pretty sure in like the 80s it wasn't considered offensive.
It was
yet.
getting there. I don't know exactly when it turned around.
Well, because there's the NAACP, like they were owning it, like that was
I
official
think
shit.
I think 70s you started not being supposed to say colored.
I mean, it's fair. It sounds kind of old school for sure.
Yeah.
Look at all the style guides for like how to address because we went through African Americans was a really good word because it described black people
You
that were the
think?
descendants of slaves in the United States. Yes,
Sure.
Because one problem we have today is I know this. I get so many emails from so many different types of black people. Like African Americans that are descendants of slaves in the United States that become like politically active get really irritated when a lot of the people that speak for these movements are black immigrants. And
Right,
if you're an
that's what I was
immigrant
saying.
from like Nigeria, from Kenya, or whatever, you're coming over. You're probably wealthy. You're usually really educated, and your lived experience is so much different than a descendant of a slave that grew up in like a different place, like an African American.
And
But
have
then-
a history of suffering. and
yeah,
you're-
exactly. So totally, but like African American became deprecated, and then we use like Black Americans. Now I think blacks is actually New York Times style guide, just black, which sounds racist to me. It's just even weird because we didn't used to say
Well,
that.
you capitalize it, so it's not
yeah, you
racist.
capitalize it, but yeah, but it's funny. Like
It's hard
how
to
many
say it
different words-
softly.
That's how
You can accidentally call someone black like a little bit too hard. You know?
maybe, yeah,
like if
totally.
you're in a bad mood, like you're ranting about something, like, oh, well, which guy is it? The black guy over there. Oh, like, oh shit, that was
I
about
meant
something else.
The black guy over
That's
there.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, it gets so
I'm at the
weird.
black
And silly,
gentleman
I don't
over
know.
No, but that is a good point. Is that there is no distinction between now Black Americans and African Americans because there are a lot of immigrants who.
Well, it's starting because now Democrats are learning that not all brown people are the same.
Yeah.
They've learned over the past two election cycles.
We also learned you can't just put an X at the end to make everybody happy.
Oh, for Latinx
Well, like,
or
oh,
whatever?
yeah.
Oh my God.
You're
yeah.
African X.
That no one cares about
Latinx.
that shit. Yeah.
Are you a
you-
DeSantis ex-believer?
What do you mean ex-believer?
Well, I just threw in the X, but do you believe DeSantis could win?
I don't, dude. I'm who the fuck makes any prediction more than 6 months out of American politics? I have
I
no-
know, but there's just
Yes.
I remember even like
He
6
could.
months ago, it was just like nonstop conversation of like DeSantis can unseat Trump. Like this is how it's going to go down.
Here's the
And
problem with Trump.
People seem a little bit less confident now.
Trump was a funny guy. He won big in his election. People like winners. People like funny dudes. Regardless of how much cope the Republicans are on, and they might not even know this, it's not fun watching Trump cry over and over and over again about losing the election. If he can just drop that shit and go back to like, what did he call him? Fucking meatball Santas or
What was he
Yeah.
saying? The sanctimonious.
or he's got like, yeah. If he goes
That's
back
not
to,
a good one.
He called him a groomer. I really
That's
want-
funny.
He's
Now
got to
that's
keep doing
funny.
that. That's great. That's hilarious.
Yeah, if he can go back to like calling people names, doing funny shit like that, if like, you know, whatever. Maybe he can pick
DeSantis
up
is
Jim
not
Benson.
funny. I don't think he's funny. Is he
No.
funny?
No, he's not funny.
He can't
talks
win.
like a nerd.
Yeah. You got to
He
be
wears
funny.
a suit to UFC events and chit chats with the Nelka boys and stuff though. So he
Yeah.
kind of knows how to
I'm
like
gonna
blend
take
in
the
with.
porn out of the library. Shut up. It's not funny. Say something funny about it at least.
There's no way Biden doesn't win, right? Like the election harvesting
I think
shit is
it's-
still happening.
It's like 2 years. Fuck
mean,
off.
it's-
Also, it's like we're still like 2 years from the election.
Sorry
right? I don't know.
Sorry to
If you want to hear that argument
sorry to
every
spoil
week,
the surprise.
check out the biggest problem in the universe because it comes up every fucking week on the show.
What ballot
Well, if
numbers?
Biden didn't
saying.
steal all those fucking ballots,
jelly beans or whatever I have to call them on
Yeah.
YouTube.
Biden stole all the jelly beans is the going discussion topic.
Damn, so you guys have to do that too? Because if you didn't know, on TikTok we all have to call ourselves porn stars, and you have to unalive
Yeah,
yourself.
unalive.
Yeah.
Dude,
There's
that
a lot of
euphemism
even
shit,
weirder ones.
Oh, the graping. Oh my god, I just want to kill myself every time
So
unalive
painful.
myself.
And there's a lot of conversations of like, okay, is corn emoji star emoji, is that being shadow banned now? We don't
See,
know.
these tech companies will just tell us the rules. Say you can't say these words, and if you say them, this. But the problem is they don't want us to like subvert them and whatever else.
Yeah, but also you got to
I'm
really.
playing games with a fucking robot. Like, I hate that my life is dictated by a magic robot programmed by an asshole. And I go like, can I?
They ruined video games for
They've
you.
ruined everything. It's when I'm trying to title a YouTube video, I'm like, can I say like this guy died? Can I say like?
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
almost everything I want to say is something that I probably shouldn't say in a YouTube title. Like everything we want to talk about
Yeah.
is like in some way violent or something offensive.
Yeah.
It's horrifying that our lives are being decided again. I don't know who it is, but I think it's these weird activists and these trust and safety committees.
I'm sure I don't know who it is.
Insane rules. That was the thing about the Netflix protest that drove me nuts. Is they go, we don't want to ban Chappelle. We just want you to put, I don't know, 5 or 10 trans people on the trust and safety team. And I go, oh, I know what you're doing. I get it. Because once you get in there, it's not about stopping Chappelle. It's about stopping the next Chappelle. Like a guy who's up and coming and he's funny and he's making jokes that are real and raw. And you go, he's a little problematic for the network. And you can just, again, you can unalive these people on social media. Like, I disappeared from Twitter and you didn't know I was gone. And a million other people didn't know I was gone.
I blame
Yeah.
fucking conservatives. Fuck them.
Sure,
They
go
needed-
nuts.
They shouldn't have made fun of the arts so much. Fucking pisses me off because what happened is all the schools got taken over by lefties and liberals.
Yep.
All of fucking entertainment, every fucking musician, every fucking artist, every stand-up comedian are all liberals because all conservatives did all the time is they shit on art, they shit on music, they shit
They
on
still do.
anything. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
they're like, well, I don't know how the schools are taking over liberals because you sit here and said education was a waste of time for fucking. You told everybody an electrician and a plumber. Fuck you. And now the conservatives are looking like, fuck, we lost the culture
Why
war. It's
don't-
like, you
yeah.
didn't even lose the culture war. You didn't even participate in the culture war. You just sat and watched it all fucking roll by you. What the fuck?
You're like, why don't we own art? And it's like, you told everyone art's gay. So
Yeah.
all the gay kids
Exactly.
went to art school and became the next generation
Yeah.
of artists. You lose, sir. Good day.
What's the difference between J.K. Rowling and Scott Adams? Is it just that one person's
That J.K.
statements
Rowling
were-
is right.
Yeah, well, I would generally agree.
J.K. Rowling is kind of right, but
She's
anytime
kind of right.
she's got some good points, but anytime somebody gets that fixated on one thing, you gotta wonder,
But
right?
do you think she's that fixated? She hasn't made
She is
this
ultra
many public
fixated.
statements about it.
You ever
right?
meet a libertarian that knows the age of consent in all 50 states?
Probably Mr. Girl.
When you meet people like this, you're like, you're not saying anything wrong. It's a little fucking weird that you're so obsessed with this
What is she
topic.
so fixated on? Just the erasure of women?
So if you didn't know this, every single British woman that is a feminist also fucking hates trans people. All of them do. And here's the problem is initially J.K. Rowling said crazy shit, but trans activists online rose to the challenge and started to fulfill all the crazy shit she said. and now her arguments seem more legitimate, and then now that all seems.
She was right on accident, you mean?
Basically, yeah, because but it's kind of like everybody from Twitter from 2016, where people are
Yeah.
like, oh well, pretty soon, people are going to be kneeling and kissing the boots of black people in the streets while begging forgiveness. Like, no one's going to do this. This
And
is
then
so
they
cra-
did-
and
they
then
did.
Yeah, and then they did. It's like, oh yeah, well, fuck me, I guess.
I
No.
always get people. Nobody will ever get a female ID as like a joke to get fun benefits, and I'm like, I went to the DMV the day they put that rule into place and got a female ID.
Did you really?
I am now a legal woman in the state of California.
It's just it gets a little goofy sometimes.
And then Biden starts going, I'm going to give tax credits to women. I'm like, all right,
Oh, then I'm
Biden,
gonna do
let's,
it then.
let's
Fuck
line
this.
them up. You should go to the DMV and check a box, and you get better taxes. And if you go to prison, you get to go to lady prison, which is a lot more fun, I imagine.
So.
You
Yeah.
really think that they'd put you in the women's jail?
What legal reason would they have to deny me? I'm a
But would
woman.
you go for it, or would you be like,
I am
I'm
a
gonna be with the
legal
boys?
woman in the state of California, and if they try to deny me, I'll sue their fucking shit.
God, imagine if you go to women's prison though, and you can't even get laid in there.
No, it's going to be horrible for me. It's going to
It's
be
full of trans
super
It'd be
men like
all
it.
over.
oh, be all trans guys and
it.
ladies, and then I'm going to get
That's got to be a
passed
skit.
around.
Where a guy goes through fucking 50 million hoops and he gets in. And it's like a 15-minute skit, and the
another
final 5
guy.
seconds is him walking in, and it's a whole bunch of
All
fucking
right,
vetoes.
time to meet my new cellmate. My name's Bruno. Damn it! Come on!
First time.
That's pretty crazy because that essentially turns like women's prisons into like a weird sex club meetup
Yeah.
zone that you can now sort of enter into if you're clued in enough.
Exactly.
If you watch your podcast.
Hey man, you got to run the system. Make the system work for you.
Yeah.
And if they take my female ID away, I'm okay with that because I don't think I'm supposed to have it. It makes no sense to me that I have it, but the fact that I have the ability to obtain it.
Wait, do you have it on you?
Yeah. I'll show you later.
Oh shit.
My picture is terrible.
Oh, with not enough
would
makeup that day.
Yeah, exactly. I went in like completely haggard, and I'm like, oh, I really fucked up that picture.
You didn't even wear a fucking dress for. You didn't even commit to the bit.
No, I just went in and I went to
Dick
the.
would have worn a dress. He would have went in
Yeah.
with,
Why?
with
Why?
a bow in his hair.
I
Because
could
you're getting
be
a goddamn
a
female
woman,
ID.
a woman can be whatever she wants to be, Des.
Unbelievable.
Have you got pulled over at any point in the last since
Yeah.
you did this and the cops kind of confused?
I don't know. They kind of gave me a look, but then they're like, whatever.
He's like, do I want to go
Transpo.
viral on TikTok today?
This body cam footage is coming out.
Going through TSA, they're kind of like, I don't know anymore, and then they just let you through. I think everybody is just kind of giving up on trying to figure it out.
Wow.
They're like, it's an ugly lady, but what are you gonna do?
So, do you think I'm wrong for? Destiny, you think like from what I've seen of the J.K. Rowling thing, I don't really feel like she said anything that offensive. Do you
Here's the
think
issue.
it's offensive? Do you think
Yeah.
the trans people are right?
Okay, here's the issue. J.K. Rowling initially made complaints. This is what all turfy women do. Okay, trans exclusionary radical feminists is they said that trans women were going to come in, they were going to steal our spaces and make us unsafe. That's what they said. I think 5 years ago that was ridiculous to say because people weren't advocating for that. Trans people just wanted the right to medical care that wasn't cosmetic, that was covered by insurance, that could help them live the lives they wanted to live, which is fine. I think it was fine. But then things got a little bit crazy. COVID accelerated everything crazy. And now you've got people saying things like, I've seen huge Twitter threads with like 80,000 likes saying the only reason women's sports were invented was because women were kicking the ass of like all the men in sports. So I was like, have you ever seen a real man or woman in your entire fucking life?
I've
or-
never
or-
seen
they were
women's sports, but I
dominating.
know that's not true.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you get all of these insane like posts. You're starting to see more of the like my 2-year-old daughter identified as a trans man or whatever.
Yeah.
Or you see all
She
these
picked
things.
up a G.I. Joe, and I knew.
Yeah.
One of the guys that assaulted us at the Netflix when we found out later his daughter or son, I don't remember which, was trans. So that's why it was such an important issue. Remember
Yes.
that? Yeah.
My
Came
daughter's
at
pretty
us.
into Buzz Lightyear. Is that a problematic?
You have a
thing?
trans.
Yeah, it's just so now like all those turfy arguments seem a little bit.
No one's
more
gonna cut
true.
off a little kid's dick, and now we're kind of going in that direction.
But so you're admitting defeat here? You're saying
I'm
that
not
she was
admitting
right about
defeat.
everything?
I don't think she was right. I think she
You're saying
stumbled
you were
into
temporarily
she
right.
stumbled into the correct answer because people rose to the occasion to prove her correct.
Are a lot of your enemies like accidentally right sometimes, you find?
If you give them 5 years, I guess they will be right.
She was a predictor. She saw the writing on the wall.
That was my favorite part about
You
the
give them an
trans-
inch, they take a mile.
But
They
do,
take, they take,
They
six
take
inches.
several inches.
do you think
away.
that the massive success of Hogwarts Legacy is in some way making some trans people so and like the Chappelle thing I would say is similar, where it's like some people just seem to be getting sick of this whole
Yeah.
little scam that they've got us caught up in, where they have convinced us that we need to be concerned
Oh,
with offending them all the time.
It's promoted all the time on the news. Like it's always trans this, trans this. I'm like, there's no way this is the only news.
It
that's
would
going
appear
on
that people
today.
aren't really going for it if you look at the Chappelle thing or the Hogwarts Legacy thing, right?
I think another issue too. I'm gonna blame conservatives again. Fuck them. is conservatives have no fucking platform in this country anymore besides social issues. You ever notice that? Conservatives aren't talking about the economy or trade or even fucking immigration anymore.
Yeah.
All they want to talk about are fucking trans people.
Yes.
I feel like every time a conservative opens his mouth, it's going to be repeating something J.K. Rowling said, or talking about some trans woman that
I
went in a
had to take
bathroom
that
or beat
goal.
up a
That
kid
buddy
in
was
school
gonna
or some
block
shit.
that
It's like,
bitch.
Jesus. So I think they drive a lot of the media cycle too, because right now they don't have much of an economic platform. All social.
Their
shit.
platform is becoming the platform of these reactionary YouTubers, where they're putting out political ads going, "I'm going to de-wokeify America."
Yeah,
I'm like,
oh
I
my
don't,
God.
I don't want you to care about any
Raise
of
the
that.
minimum wage. What the fuck are you
I'm
talking
gonna
about?
punish Disney
Jesus.
for putting a gay character in Buzz Lightyear. How does that help me pay my bills, you cocksucker?
my
That's not
God.
helpful at all.
Political ads have basically become like Tim Pool thumbnails.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
It's
Dude,
so
I saw one
crazy.
today, and it's like, don't you hate that these woke people are ruining your Star Wars? I'm like, that's my job. I complain about that, not you.
You
Like
should get canceled. I am for cancel culture, and it should be if you ever put the word woke in anything, just get off
Yes.
the internet for like you get a 2-week ban until nobody says woke anymore or anti-woke or whatever the fuck.
It's killing me.
Oh
how
my
much
God.
how much blame do trans people deserve for like this whole concept of like, well, I'm a woman now. Well, what is it then?
The problem
Like,
is that
it
there's
just having
two
long
types
hair,
of trans people. Okay.
not being able to drive. Like, what? Tell me what it is.
There are two types of trans people. There are the trans people that are like actually trans people, and if you meet them in real life, most of them just want to be able to do their shit pass and be left the fuck alone.
Yes.
They cringe when the Leah Thomas shit. They cringe when all the weird Twitter shit comes up, and then you have like there's a new breed of trans person. And the new breed of trans person is an 18 to 24-year-old woman that has
Okay.
dyed her hair and has a septum piercing and identifies as a non-binary ZZM, and it's like the fastest growing. Like whenever you see stats that are like 10% of Americans are now trans, it's like 2% are trans and 98% are non-binary, and it's like
Yeah.
these types of like college-age people. But the problem is that, and I've always said this, when you're in college, I think you should be crazy. You should be an activist. You should be out there because you're in fucking college. It's your time to do that. That's fine. But the problem is now the way that they're expressing that is with transness, and that can't be attacked, right? If you know back in the 90s or 2000, you have like scene kids, you've got skaters, you've got goth kids, whatever. You want to say like, listen,
Make fun of them all
yeah,
the time.
it's a phase. You'll grow out of
Yeah.
it. Like you're goofy, whatever. But you can't say to a 19, you're like, oh, cute, you're non-binary. Like you'll figure your shit out in 4 years. You can't say that because now it's horrible. And the worst thing ever is we gave kids too much fucking power because now a 20-year-old, no offense, thinks their opinion matters by going on fucking social media and giving life advice and activist advice to the fucking world by telling everybody how everything should be.
Whenever
yeah,
I
but
see
it
a
still
sub-
goes back to the like, what is his name? The porn star or her? I forget which one it is.
Buck Angel?
Buck Angel. Yeah. It,
We love Buck.
We had him
Yeah, I
on a
love-
while back. He's fucking amazing.
I think I don't want to mischaracterize what he says, but it all goes back to this like, well, you can't tell me I'm not a woman question, right? Like that is the seems to be the core problem with everybody involved in this, which is as soon as I have that identity, I can go to the bathroom, I can do all kinds of this other shit that biological women or whatever the fuck.
'Cause
you
there's
have
no
to say.
difference. They say
because
there's
there's
no
no
difference.
difference. And then everybody on their side, like even the people in the middle of this controversy, very few of them will say, "Well, there's a difference." Do you know what I mean?
Well,
like it's
some
hard
of
to
them
get
now
to
have
say,
gaslit themselves into going, you're right, there is no difference. Like,
Exactly.
We
Yeah,
only
but-
split up sports because the women
Yes,
were winning.
yes.
But the problem is that you get, again, this is one of those things where you get horrible engagement from both sides. People on the left are pushing this idea of self-ID. If you say you're a woman, you're a woman. That's ridiculous.
Like me.
Nobody fucking views it that way. You don't do it
Okay.
that way. That's so stupid. But
Okay.
the problem on the right is the people go like, oh, well, like a woman is like a biological female. And it's like, realistically, these concepts mean more than that, right? Because you see somebody and you assume they're a woman, but you've never looked at their chromosomes, you've never touched their vagina, right? And then especially when conservatives make appeals where it's like, you should go to the bathroom that you're biologically sexed in. Bullshit.
Yeah.
You would fucking kill yourself if you made a law that said that Buck Angel was going to be in a stall next to your little daughter. You would go crazy. Or if you said that Blair White was going into the men's bathroom, you wouldn't accept that, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So like, people
Wait a
just have-
minute. Wait,
yeah.
why wouldn't I accept either of those things?
Because conservatives.
Because you'd see like, oh, that's a what is that creep going into the women's room
exactly,
for him?
Yeah.
But
When
when
it
I-
comes to like topics of gender and sex, there's a really complicated way that we like diagnose and analyze people or whatever.
But when I'm sitting there having a conversation the other day with Buck Angel and Blair White, and the version of like being a trans person that they embrace is basically one that I feel like almost every American could agree on, in the sense